Welcome to the Jehovih Chronicles with your host, Cosmon.
Right back like I left something. It's your hostess with the most. It's holding that fire like a roach clip. Your naga, your nerve, fresh up off of that curved jelly, jam and preserve. Cosmon, Anakwakaiki, the cloud kicker. Back up in this thing, man. Hey, listen. You know, everybody know, man. Been rocking with oahspe for a while, and you dig what I'm saying. But one of the things that I always liked about oahspe is that it made connections that unless you read the information, you wouldn't even know was there. You dig what I'm talking about? And then gives a way to prove what it's saying in real time. You dig what I'm talking about? So that's the dope part about oahspe. You don't never have to believe it. As a matter of fact, I say if you have to believe anything, it's already fake. So if you got to believe in your God, your Messiah, your Savior, if you have to believe that anybody died for your sins or anything, if you have to take on any amount of belief, right? I say it's already fake. The creator is all too real. You dig what I'm talking about? And objective. And even though it may be unseen, what it creates is objective. So if there is a sun, well, then who creates it? All right. And then, you know, the way that you could easily say, oh, well, God created the sun. Well, how? See, only a person who was there and who actually did it would have a process, step by step, how a sun is made or how a moon is made or a planet, right? Only the person who was there. Now, many gods and deities have made claims that they are the creator. And yet when you ask very simple questions, they prove their lack of power, omniscience. You dig what I'm talking about? And that they are, in fact, ever present. Right? You ask them a very simple question like, how do you create a sun? The God starts to short circuit me. It doesn't compute. Mere mortal. Who are you to question me? The gods start to break down. But one of the dope parts about oahspe is, unlike any other spiritual book, no other spiritual book ever talks about American slavery, right? And breaks it down, telling you what's going on the spiritual side of American slavery. And you know, and what are some of the unseen causes behind the things that we actually see. And one of the dope parts that I thought was interesting was that in oahspe, it explains why the unseen cause behind the American Civil War, right? And one of the crazy parts of that is that it has to do with two ancient great rulers, right? That many of us have heard of. Shout out to everybody coming in, man. Coming in. Thumb up the video, share the live out. You did what I'm talking about. Your boy just coming back. You know, we just gonna keep cooking. More knowledge. You did what I'm talking about. More information. You dig what I'm saying? We're going to set the mood real quick, play a little music, we'll jump back in with the video. All right, y'all?
Jehovih is as near this day as in the time of the ancients. Put yourself in order, becoming one with him. And no book is so easily read as his created universe. Inspiration comes less by books than by what Jehovih wrote. His worlds read him and his works. Frame your speech and your thoughts for him. He will answer you in your own behavior and in the happiness of your soul. Great wisdom cannot be attained in a day, nor purity and strength to overcome temptation, till the growth is from the foundation. The fool will say, the sacred books are no more than man of his own knowledge could write. Yet he has not wisely imitated the power of the words of your God. Let him do this well, and behold, he will also declare my words are from me. Yes, he will recognize them wherever found. It is the will and wish of your God that all men become constitutionally capable of receiving and comprehending the highest life, and that they shall no longer depend upon any priest, church, oracle, holy book, or upon consulting the spirits, and that their behavior may make the earth a place of peace, with long life to all people, for the glory of Jehovah. To his Etherian gods and goddesses, Jehovah said, as you have founded arcs of light in my Etherian heavens, to determine the travel of my corporeal worlds, so shall my God of the earth inspire mortals to build lighthouses for man's ships that travel on the oceans, and those who travel in the ships. And those on the land shall know when a ship nears the port, even as you see my traveling earth approaching the place of Cosmon. For this shall be an illustration to mortals, that I have appointed cycles of times and dawns of times, with gods and goddesses to superintend my creations in tenderness and love, lest by chance man becomes despondent, saying, alas, Jehovah did not provide in wisdom commensurate with the magnificence of his creations. Behold, the time draws near when the nations of the earth shall course around the whole earth in ships, crossing the seas and oceans to all the places I created. Yeah, I feel good right now. The atmospheric, green skies, the gang coming. I be in and out, so leave that thing running. Purified is preferred. Higher frequency, a higher bird. I observe on a different nerve. Breaking codes, I
am the yoga, deadly as a Ruger, straight and a shooter. Out the holster with this mudra, inoculation with the wisdom. Creator shape my prism and hit them with no schisms. Breathe and turn the light up. Y'all disappointing like 9 to 5 and some write-ups. Something rearranged, let that boy cook. Organization 33, stay up in them books.
We them boys shook.
46 divided, yeah, I'm Port Michael. It was only rifle that I came up in this cycle. They say they gangsters, but they telling it. Step outside, take off my shoes, and
let the sun hit my melanin.
Had to be learned that the herb, the medicine, is the same matrix. So who you think you better than?
Hold on. Hey, shout out to my faithful brother, David Sleeping Wolf. He been making some oahspe joints. You dig what I'm saying? This is one of the ones I like. Blood in the Cup. You dig what I'm saying? You know, he basically exposing these Druidian demonic rituals of blood and blood sacrifice. You dig what I'm talking about? Shout out to David Sleeping Wolf. You dig what I'm saying? Y'all go over there, sub, like, share. He got some stuff that he been whipping up, you know, using the AI, I think, and you know, making that oahspe music. You dig what I'm talking about? But yeah, check it out, man. If y'all like it, man, y'all go over there, sub, like, share, man. This is dope right here. You dig what I'm saying? Shout out to the brother David Sleeping Wolf. Let's go. As a matter of fact, we're gonna start it over, right? We're gonna start it over, but on this one, I want y'all to do a pump it or dump it. If y'all like it, you know what I mean? Throw me some thumbs up. Fire emojis, thumbs up. If you don't like it, throw me some thumbs down, throw tomatoes. You dig what I'm talking about? If you don't like it, throw some tomatoes, thumbs down. If you do like it, throw me some thumbs up and some fire emojis. You dig what I'm talking about? Y'all tell me what y'all think about this. This some of that oahspe music.
They drink this wine, it's somebody's blood. Eat this bread, it's a man who got dragged through the mud. And praise for a lamb that got slaughtered on wood. If that ain't a cult, then misunderstood. You want eternal life, put a bathe in the gore. Bow till about to come back for more. They call it holy, I call it strange. Blood on the doors, man, nothing changed. Much in the cup, blood on the floor, blood on the ground, and they beg for more. Blood on their hands, blood in the book. Talking about peace with the bloodlust look. Blood in the song, blood in the prayer. Blood on the Savior with nails in the air. Blood for your sins, blood for your soul. Blood as the ticket to heaven's robe. Say he died for you, ain't that sweet? But first you gotta kneel and wash your feet in a pool of guilt. Yeah, the shame runs deep, red rivers flowing while the shepherds sleep. They say the blood cleans, makes you pure, but every drop got a price, that's for sure. Ties and fear, the collection plate, bleeding the people in the name of fair. In the cup, blood on the floor, blood on the ground, and they beg for more. Blood on their hands, blood in the book, talking about peace with the bloodlust look. Blood in the song, blood in the prayer. Blood on the Savior with nails in the air. Blood for your sins, blood for your soul. Blood as the ticket to heaven's robe. Eat of my flesh, drink of my blood. Sounds like a sermon or a vampire club. You call it grace, I call it wild. Why you baptizing that child? In blood, 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 blood in the cup, blood in the sky, blood in the dreams, don't even know why. Blood on the hands, blood in the book. Blood is the answer, blood is the need.
Yeah, that's the homie David Sleeping Wolf right there, man. I like that joint right there. You know what I mean? Exposing the corrupt falsity in the biblical narrative. You know what I mean? With the application of the blood. You dig what I'm saying? That's cap. You know what I mean? And even once you read the story and understand the true background of what happened in Egypt, especially with the blood over the door type thing, that was a ritual of the Egyptians that Moses did on his own and applied that, locking in a blood ritual and a curse on the Pharaoh of Egypt, that even in his afterlife he had to come back and take responsibility for what he did. Right? You only get that type of information in the but I wanted to get into a little bit of the understanding of the so-called Black peoples, American Aboriginals. You dig what I'm saying? During the Civil War, and just like give a little crash course.
I'm Clint
on what was actually going on. You dig what I'm talking about now? We already understand this catch-all term that they apply to us called Black, right? That allows anybody who got brown skin to think that they have a say-so in what goes on in your house. So they lumping niggas together. They lumping the niggas is only from America, by the way. They're lumping Negroes with niggas. They're lumping Africans in there. They're lumping anybody brown. You dig what I'm talking about? And trying to say that we're these people that are enslaved in the 1860s, right? But shout out to brothers like David Eltis, who actually have done the work and is the designer and has put in the information into the system, like slave voyages. He found that it's only about 3,000 Africans by 1807, period. 3,000. You dig what I'm saying? That from 1492 to 1807 or 1804, right? To 1804, there hadn't been a great number of African peoples here, period, right? And we see that totally stop at 1807 with the end of slavery in Britain and control over the Atlantic seas being dominated by them at the time. So for in all intents and practices, after 1808, there were no people being brought here from Africa. So it comes as a great surprise, right? Right? That out of these few thousand people that had got here mostly during the part from 1804 to 1807, right? The majority of them. That their descendants and themselves in the 1860s, right? Out of that 4 million people, David Eltis says that only 0.1 or 1/10 of 1% of people in that stock were born in Africa or their parents were born in Africa. Let that sink in. The most of the people came from with African heritage came before 1807 or by 1804 to 1807. That's when the most Africans came in, and that's about 70,000. Right? That's about 70,000. David Eltis says from 1492 to 1804 that there was only about 3,000, right? Or 300,000 some people being brought to the Americas, right? With only about 3% of those people, 330,000, with about only about 3% of those people actually reaching North America. So roughly around 3,000 people from 1492 to 1804, right? From 1804 to 1807, there was about 70,000. So somehow they try to tell us that 73,000 people in 1807 somehow can turn into 4 million people. Even with breeding farms, it's an impossibility with just the 9 months that it takes to birth these people, even if you raped every single one. So first of all, you got to look at the mortality rates. Half of the people who came over here died. Half, a full half. Of that 50%, most of them were in the conditions so deplorable that it wasn't conducive to breeding, right? So the mortality rate of these quote unquote slaves, when we look back at that at them points, was like 35 to 40%. So you or roughly half. You dig what I'm talking about? Other babies born died in childbirth or infancy. You dig what I'm talking about? So the rate that they try to say that even with breeding farms would be an impossibility. It's another impossibility. David Eltis says 0.1% of these people, right? Of these people enslaved in the 1860s were actually from Africa, right? So since y'all trying to say we African, right? Y'all always trying to put African on us. Well, it's easily to see that them people, if we the Africans, that it's easily to see that whoever that is enslaved, it ain't us. And by the way, we the Aboriginal Americans. Primarily, the people who were enslaved in the South were white and black Europeans. This is what they won't reveal to you. The blacks, primarily enslaved in the South, weren't from actual Africa. They were from Europe, many of them. Many of the actual whites who were enslaved in the Caribbean, or Africans enslaved in the Caribbean and in South America, were white, pale-skinned people from Africa. The same place you say they tried to take us, they actually took Europeans. That's why they call it the Guinea Coast. A Guinea is an Italian. Anybody from Italy all the way to Spain and Portugal, anybody along that northern coast is a Guinea. Why? Because that's the home of the Guineas. So where they moved these people during the Barbary slave trade was into northern Africa and western Africa. Later, populations of them migrated to the south, right? And became the only people over there on that continent called Afrikaans. So it's a whole different type of view and understanding of really what's going on. And, you know, about this whole slavery narrative, they always trying to throw up on you because it's not, in fact, true. Not that there wasn't slavery, just who was enslaved, though. Right? Well, let the brother, he did a great job, man. Shout out to Crash.
And this is Crash Course Black American History. Today.
Shout out to Crash Course, man. Brother did a great job with this video, man. Just bringing the facts. You dig what I'm saying? And that's what it is. We don't turn down nothing but our collar, right? But then guess what? After all this, you got to go through this, you know, use your discernment. You dig what I'm saying? Find out what's true and what lines up with your genealogic record, right? And then apply that to what's commonly known in history, right? But then guess what? Because your creator knows they liars, truth was revealed. And, you know, it's cool to understand, you know, okay, yeah, they went to war. Supposedly over slavery and supposedly got something to do with you, right? But what it had to do with you was that in most part you were the plantation owner. Wasn't nobody telling you what to do. You volunteered as copper-colored Aboriginal Americans to fight. Nobody enforced you, right? As a matter of fact, you're gonna find out. I'm gonna show you today. You know, it was a lot of racial tensions and stuff going on, but that's because many of the people who were being enslaved were already pale skins, and the people in the North are starting to realize that those people who were primarily enslaved in the South look just like them, and this could be a problem. This is the hidden and forgotten cause of the American Civil War. All right? I want y'all to notice, nobody is forcing these niggas to fight. They are signing up on their own. How? If you're supposed to be a slave. This is why we gotta relook at this narrative. Thought you couldn't read and write. What are you signing? So, you know, and if you just walked off the plantation, you know, like the narrative say you was a downtrodden nigga and you was just praising up to God, and you couldn't read, write, don't do nothing. You know what I mean? And you ain't never walked off the plantation before. First of all, how do you enslave a grown ass man? Can't he just walk away? See, this is what we got to understand. What they trying to pawn off as the slavery. Now, it is a little different because America has a chattel system but what was different about the chattel system was they said the condition of the child followed the condition of the mother. That had never been done before. So in a sense, a person who is born in peonage, born indentured, born a slave, they produce slaves. That had never been, you know, first of all, that's just evil, right? So, and that had never been done in the most barbaric societies we've ever heard of. Even Greece didn't do this. Rome didn't even do this, right? This is why they call it a peculiar institution, right? Because you were able to birth a slave. You dig what I'm saying? But the secret cause of the American Civil War and of these 4 million enslaved who don't have any, only 0.1% of them were born in Africa. That's 1/10 of 1% of these people enslaved in America come from Africa or African stock. Let that sink in. Who is all these people? Huh? I'm just saying, these people just walked off the plantation. How did? Okay, first you got some gumption to just because you heard somebody said something, and so you walked off. So I find it hard to believe that you didn't walk off the first time somebody would have said something to you about anything, or you just had an inkling to want to be free since nobody stopped you. So if that's the case, man, that throws a whole monkey wrench in anybody's so-called slave narrative of enslaving niggas. Have you ever tried to even pigeonhole two niggas? Right? You try to just hold just two niggas to something. It ain't happening. If you ain't gonna get two of us, you definitely ain't gonna get 20,000 of us. If you ain't gonna get 20 of us, you ain't gonna definitely get 200,000. Put 10,000 Cosmons in chains? Impossible. Right? So we got to look at this slavery narrative a little different. Slavery was just really peonage and a continuation of the indenture system brought from over there. Right? They was the slaves, had always been the slaves. In 1619, the first 20 and odd Negras to come to Americas were Europeans, white boys, now called Negroes. Because African, Negro, and slave became synonymous. Mind you, before any of this happened, there were already free people of color in the Americas that were not European or African. Let that sink in. We had American Indian, we had whites, American Indians, and free people of color. So obviously the free people of color ain't Africans because Africans are slaves at this time. We're not taking that from Africa. Right? Many of them did come over here. Y'all was slaves. We're not saying you wasn't. I'm just saying we not African. Right? So you gotta dodge the hijack with this old blackity black. I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all. Black. Where is the black land? Where is the nation of black? Can you show me the black flag? What? Where is black in all physiology or in all biology? Show me a biologically black man. What part on earth do he come from? I ain't even never seen one. They called me one, and I ain't even never seen one. So we got to be careful. Got to be careful. Let's go.
We'll be discussing the bloodiest war in American history, one that many historians now claim took the lives of over 750,000 people.
Man, thumb up the video, share the live out, man. Let's go, man. Let's get it cracking, man. Share this shit out on your messengers. You dig what I'm talking about? We got something to say. Dig what I'm saying? Like what your boy the Outcast and them say? Under 3,000, man, we got something to say. South got something to say. North got something to say. The Aboriginals got something to say. Faith has got something to say. Just telling you. You just didn't know the faith that's up today had Aboriginal roots. You didn't perceive the oneness in Jah. It's all right.
More Americans died in this war than in the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Spanish-American War, the Korean War, the Gulf War, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, all combined. It is a war that would change and define the trajectory of this country. We're talking about the Civil War. You've likely heard stories about the Civil War, about the so-called great generals, the gory battles, the decimated cities. It has been the subject of thousands of books, documentaries watched by millions around the world, and even the inspiration for a vast community of people who enjoy reenacting great battles of the war. But something that doesn't get as much attention, at least not as much attention as it deserves, is the role that Black soldiers, and more generally, Black people, played in the war. But today, that is going to be the center of our attention. For such an important and consequential moment in American history, there sure are a lot of different interpretations about what the Civil War was fought over. So we should be clear, from the very beginning, about why the Southern states seceded and why the Civil War came to be fought. You ready? The Civil War was about slavery. Some people might say states' rights. Well, yeah, the Southern states' rights to keep their enslaved workers. Some people might say economics. Yes, the desire for Southern planters to maintain an economy that relied on the labor of millions of enslaved people. But don't take my word for it. All we have to do is look at the statements different governments and government representatives made as they were leaving the Union themselves. A state like Mississippi said, quote, "Our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest of the world." A state like Louisiana felt, quote, "The people of the slaveholding states are bound together by the same necessity and determination to preserve African slavery." Or Texas, who said, quote, "The African race had no agency in their establishment, that they were rightfully held and regarded as an inferior and dependent race." Or we can take the words of the Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, who in his infamous Cornerstone speech in 1861 stated that slavery was, quote, "the immediate cause of the late rupture and present revolution," and that the Confederacy was founded on, quote, "the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man." To understand what the Confederacy was fighting for, all we have to do is look at what they said for themselves. On the opposite side of the Confederacy was the Federal Army, who was fighting to preserve the Union after the Southern states had begun seceding. And while the Army was not stating outwardly at the beginning of the war that they were fighting to free the enslaved, the shadow of slavery hung over every battle and every decision. Over the course of the conflict, the tenor of the war and the reason it continued evolved and became clearer over time. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. When the war first broke out at Fort Sumter in April of 1861, Black people didn't want to just sit by and watch because they perhaps had the most to lose. Thousands volunteered to fight on the side of the Union when the war first erupted, but they were turned away. A federal law dating all the way back to 1792 barred Black people from bearing arms in the U.S. Army, even though they had served in the American Revolution and in the War of 1812. The Lincoln administration debated the idea of recruiting Black troops into the Union forces, but they were concerned that such a move would prompt the border states to secede. Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri were these kind of in-between players in the war because they stayed in the Union, but also kept their enslaved workers. Additionally, beliefs of Black inferiority were widespread among white military officials, both on the Confederate and the Union side. They believed Black men to be too cowardly, too weak-minded, and too likely to give away sensitive military information under pressure. There was also a fear that if you gave Black men guns, they would desert and perhaps use those weapons to attack white people. Regardless of the military shutting Black Americans out, many who wanted to fight banded together on their own terms, forming groups in places like New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. A few brave Black men and women in the South also joined military units. In South Carolina, General David Hunter put an order in place that organized a group of runaways to become part of the 1st South Carolina Regiment. In Missouri, General John C. Fremont did something similar. Both units, however, were quickly disbanded by the government. But over the course of the war, Lincoln's position on the role of black soldiers began to change. The Union was having a more difficult time recruiting white volunteers to serve in the Army for a war that many in the country initially thought would only last a few weeks. And black abolitionists, like Frederick Douglass, had long been pushing Lincoln to make black soldiers a part of the war effort. Additionally, there were shifting international dynamics shaping Lincoln's calculus. All of this led to the Emancipation Proclamation. A document that is widely misunderstood, Lincoln's proclamation was a military strategy with multiple aims. It prevented European countries from supporting the Confederacy by framing the war in moral terms and making it explicitly about slavery, something that Lincoln had previously backed away from. As a result, France and Britain, which had contemplated supporting the Confederacy, ultimately refused to do so because of each country's anti-slavery positions. The proclamation allowed the Union Army to recruit black soldiers, and it also threatened to disrupt the South's social order, which depended on the work and caste position of enslaved people. Lincoln had actually presented the proclamation to his cabinet in July of 1862. But William H. Seward, Lincoln's Secretary of State, told the president that if they announced it at that moment, it would look like a sign of weakness and desperation. Instead, he urged Lincoln to wait until the Union won a significant victory on the battlefield. This made sense to Lincoln, so he waited. The moment came on September 17, 1862, when Union troops halted the advance of the Confederate forces in the Battle of Antietam. Just a few days afterwards, Lincoln publicly announced a preliminary version of the Emancipation Proclamation, which told the Confederate states that they had 100 days, by January 1st, 1863, to rejoin the Union. And if they didn't, their slaves would be declared thenceforward and forever free. The Confederacy, obviously, didn't listen. And on January 1st, Lincoln signed the proclamation. The document transformed the war effort, and people like Frederick Douglass went to work recruiting black soldiers. A war undertaken and brazenly carried on for the perpetual enslavement of colored men, Douglass wrote in a broadside in 1863, calls logically and loudly for colored men to help suppress it. By the end of the war, the Union had more than 186,000 black volunteers, 134,000 of them coming from slave states. What's more, over the course of the war, over 70% of black men in the North who were of age would serve in the Union Army. The truth of the matter.
Now, I want y'all to notice. These boys are signing up on their own. How? They're signing up in the North, they're signing up in the South. How? If you're supposed to be a slave, you don't know nothing. You can't read. You're from Africa. How you even learn how to speak the language? You dig what I'm talking about? So, you gotta be careful with these narratives.
Is that black people had been fighting for freedom long before the war. Still, the Civil War did open up a whole slew of new opportunities for them to seize freedom. Untold numbers of runaways would find their way into the Union Army camps and seek refuge. Even before the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, the Confiscation Acts passed by Congress in 1861 and 1862 made it possible for black people to obtain freedom if they joined these camps. Runaways helped the Union war effort by joining units in unofficial capacities, working as servants.
Yeah, but don't let them talk to you and fool you. Also, these Confiscation Acts and so-called land abandonment acts was a way for the Union to usurp and colonize the southern U.S. You dig what I'm talking about? This is the Confiscation Act, 1861, 1862. You know what I mean? So they're just officially justifying stealing the land. This is what this is. And then for many of the people who were coming in from other countries, see, a lot of they don't tell y'all this part of the story. In the Union in the North, which is the federal army, right? They were paying people from Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, right? And indenturing them and paying them in land, right? If they would come over here and fight on the side of the Union, right? They had the federal banking system based in London and all that stuff, and in DC backing behind them. The South, it was using primarily plantation banks. All right, they were loaded because they were the agriculturalists, you know, and all the products that were coming out of the South were being manufactured in the North. So don't let it seem like these people had your best interest in the North neither. You dig what I'm talking about? Because if you know we was free and all we had to do was just walk across a little border, you did what I'm talking about, and you was good. Why would the dudes in the North fight? Why would they fight? It don't make sense. The story is illogical. Let's keep going.
And some were even able to work on land in Union strongholds for a wage. The Confiscation Acts got that name because acquiring runaways meant capturing enemy property. Accordingly, the
Cap, you did what I'm talking about. Many of these people that they were removing, killing, you know what I mean, forcing off of their land were the Aboriginals. The Confiscation Act allowed it through head rights to be given out to undergird the European peasantry that's being freed in the South, the slaves, and those being brought over here from Europe and Africa. Nobody's ever saying nobody got brought over here. We're just saying who, right? And because many people are dupes and have never been anywhere in the world, they think only melanated black people come from Africa. They don't know most of North Africa is Caucasian and Arab. Many of them are Caucasians also, right? So there's a great population of white people still in Western Africa today, still in South Africa today, still in North Africa today. So you dig what I'm talking about? These people, they've been telling you they've been there since 1500 for sure, documented during the Barbary slave trade. Hush. During the Barbary slave trade. You dig what I'm talking about? In the same numbers that they supposed to be enslaving you in, they're already enslaved. Europeans enslaved in Africa, West Coast, Negro land. Yep. Those are called Afri or Afrikaans, right? Troglodytes, cave people. You dig what I'm saying? Because they lived in the coastal regions of the Guinea coast, right? Got some of the oldest known living caves that date back right to this time, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. They know for a fact people were living in those caves. There's a whole cave system. So, you dig what I'm talking about. This is where I believe you get the name Afrikaan from, right? Not necessarily from Europeans. And then you got to remember, if anybody is calling these people during this time African, well, in the 1840s, the American Negro was called, first of all, he's not a Negro. He was denying in the 1840s he was a Negro, black or African then. He was called colored, right? the American colored man. You dig what I'm saying? And in the 1830s and 40s, you know, brothers had their own newspapers, and they were denying this, that we are somehow African or have African ties. As a matter of fact, they're saying not only are we American, we are more American than anybody else. Shout out to my OG Alabama, who says, the nigga of America is the only American.
Camps became commonly known as contraband camps. Speaking of contraband camps, that brings us to Mrs. Susie Baker King Taylor, the only Black woman to publish a book reflecting on her time spent in the contraband camps.
How? Think about it. How is she writing a book? She had just been a slave. Remember, the narrative is that you niggas ain't nothing. You ain't never been nothing. And you a slave. You down dirty. You ain't got no money. You're poor. You don't know who you are. You can't read. Remember, at the same time, right? You were supposed to be nothing. We got Susie Baker King Taylor, right? Rocking with people whose land had been taken. They were warred against, moved, right, out of certain areas. You did what I'm talking about. Many of them told for their safety, right? But later on, many of them get land back. You dig what I'm talking about? They get land back if they got forced off their land. But right along with them came European peasants, Black and white, African peasantry, Black and white, into these same confiscated or bounty lands. Many of them in Georgia, right? In the region that was settled as a buffer between the the Spanish region of the South, Spanish Indian region of the South, and like Florida, Southern Georgia to South Carolina, right? The state of Georgia was like a buffer land, right? Out of them confiscated lands, right? People like Nicholas Said, an African, who came over here in 1860, right? He signed up, thought you was a slave, Ain't you supposed to be a slave? No, you came over here from Africa on a boat willingly, signed up to fight for the Union, and when you was done, you went to the South and wrote a memoir, never even mentioning that you fought on the side of the Union. Why didn't you mention that? Why? Because you was in the deep South down there in Georgia, living on these other people's land. And then on top of that, they end up calling him and other Persians and Africans who came over here. Guess what they ended up changing these people's status to? American Indian. I'm just saying, be wise.
During the Civil War, the book was called Reminiscences of My Life in Camp with the 33rd United States.
Are you writing a book, but you're supposed to be a slave? You got to make this make sense. Somebody lying, right? Somebody's lying. If you are a slave, you are not writing books. How is this sister writing a book? Come on, y'all.
Colored troops, late 1st South Carolina Volunteers. The book itself details her many adventures, facing death on several occasions, and the work she did as an educator. Taylor was the first Black American to teach formerly enslaved people publicly in a school in Georgia, a school that she helped to found. As Black men either fought or provided manual labor toward the war effort, Black women would often do medical work, cook for soldiers, or take care of the children. But the story of a woman named Harriet Tubman makes it evident that Black women's contributions were numerous.
Now you got to be careful. Got to be careful with Harriet, right? Right. There are people, you know, who say that they are her descendants and all that, but there's a lot of information that's going out right now debunking this Harriet Tubman narrative, right? And if she is in Maryland, right, born in Maryland, how was she getting back and forth to South Carolina, and why South Carolina would she go there? Her people wouldn't have been from there, right? Why wouldn't she free all her people in Maryland where these so-called breeding farms are? As a matter of fact, by their narrative, and Black people who are lost and don't even know who they are, they want to be from these breeding farms. I even heard a so-called Black conscious female say, "Oh, but there were breeding camps." But there's no way 73,000 during the time of slavery in the conditions that they were in can turn into 4 million in 50 years. It's an impossibility. It can't do it in 100 years. So we got to question the narrative. There's y'all check out the brother Dan Calloway, man. You know what I mean? He done went in on this, showed his sources and everything, right? They got pictures and stuff and all that, but even those don't even be the same woman many times. And you just got to go see the evidence. They're saying she's a literary invention. In a sense, you dig what I'm talking about? No different than Jesus. So if we know Jesus is a literary invention, why can't Harriet Tubman be? Y'all go look into it for yourself. All right? We don't do no telling you what to believe over here.
That they were engaged in both combat and non-combat roles. Let's go to the thought bubble. Harriet Tubman is widely remembered for her work leading people to freedom via the Underground Railroad. Not only was she someone who helped enslaved people forge a path to freedom by going back and forth between the North and the South on multiple occasions, but she also served as a spy during the Civil War.
She
like
was
a legit
doing a lot,
spy,
wasn't she?
Tubman was paid by the Secret Service and used those funds to recruit other Black folks to join and help gather information about the Confederates.
She was doing
Black people
a lot.
made great spies during the war, even if it was because...
Anybody ever figure out why did they pick Harriet out of all the slaves? Why her? Government came to her. Said be a spy. Interesting.
of some not so great reasons. Like I said earlier, white people, especially, but not exclusively, Southerners, really underestimated Black people's intelligence. Not only did they think enslaved Black people weren't...
Be careful. I know what he's trying to say, right? With this black and white. But remember, for real, many of these blacks, right, had pale skin in the South. Black and white has nothing to do with skin color or biology, y'all. There are no black. It's a racial construct. For instance, many Africans come over here today, blue black niggas from Nigeria. You dig what I'm talking about? And on their racial classification, it says white. So just like white doesn't have anything to do with skin color today, it didn't have anything to do with skin color when it was invented in 1681. So white is a social status. And white defines how the system sees you. That's all it is.
brave enough or clever enough to be spies, but often they simply treated Black people, especially Black women, like they were invisible. As a result, Black folks would sometimes be in the literal room where military officers were discussing war strategy or while they were sharing new developments with their families over dinner. Through her intel, Tubman discovered and alerted the Union Army of where Confederate enemies were hiding along the shore and where they planted torpedoes in the water. And on top of being a spy, Tubman led a covert military operation.
Yeah, she 007, bro. She 00 slave. You dig what I'm talking about? She in there like swimwear. Ain't nobody told me how this African learned how to speak Aboriginal languages yet. Ain't nobody telling me how she getting back and forth up and down the East Coast with no roads. Huh? How she getting all the way to Michigan to get these people to cross over here into Canada from Detroit? Huh? Nobody ever asked them questions? It's a 12-hour car drive on the freeway. Just getting here. How was you walking them? From South Carolina. First of all, you from Maryland. You went to South Carolina. Right? And you brought all with niggas all the way to Detroit. And into Canada. Interesting.
Helping Colonel James Montgomery plan a raid to help free enslaved people along the Combahee River in South Carolina. On the morning of June 2nd, 1863, Tubman and 3 gunboats full of soldiers set fire to the buildings and the bridges near the river so the Confederates couldn't use them. They ended up freeing 750 enslaved men, women, children, and babies. And they didn't lose a single soldier in the fight. Thanks.
Notice. The slaves all had to be Black. Are y'all really believing this? Huh? Y'all really believe in this? It's some cap in the rap. But what happened, right? What happened. It's just about who it happened to. You know, much of that has been conflated and hidden under terms like Black, Negro, slave, indenture. You dig what I'm talking about? Colored. White. You dig what I'm talking about? European. Because instantly, we've been so conditioned and indoctrinated. When somebody says European, they instantly think of a person with pale skin, not understanding that the very first Europeans and Europeans in general, till just recently, have always been heavily melanated. So we got to kind of break that conditioning, that indoctrination, right? We know many of them people in them slave pictures, they was paid actors. And the slaves was white and they was Africans. Y'all know the story of Rosa and Charlie and all of yeah. If you don't, look it up. Little white kids coming out of Louisiana with slaves. The Black man in the picture with them is an actor. He got paid to put on chains. That got put on by the abolitionist groups. It's not real. But why put the Black man in chains? Because that's the only way you're going to get some sympathy. Everybody knew white folks had been slaves. Shit. For thousands of years. They got a whole race of them called Slavs. A subspecies, not a subgroup called Slavs. Right? Many of them get dumped over here in 1848 and again in 1892, right? Starting with Friedrich IV out of Germany. But even many of them Germans was melanated. Huh? So when they start to say, oh, black folks own black folks, that's cap. Many times what it is American Aboriginals did own black and white Europeans and black and white Africans. Also, black and white Europeans owned black and white Africans too. So you see the confusion when it is that the blacks are actually the Europeans. The European peasantry, whether their skin is melanated or not, were called blacks because they were outside of law. They end up placing that on you and then tying colored, Negro, slave, black, all into the same category. Huh?
After being allowed to serve in the Union Army by the Emancipation Proclamation, black soldiers would make up 10% of the Union forces and fought valiantly throughout the remainder of the Civil War. Seeing these black soldiers fight and die for the Union changed the minds of many, including President Lincoln, about whether black people deserve full citizenship in this country. Our go-to guy, Frederick Douglass, who feels like he has a...
Ask you a question. Is that really why Lincoln changed his mind? Is that really why he changed his mind? Lincoln had the bill up since City 2. He could have easily enacted it. Why didn't he? All right. I say he was afraid that he was going to make a wrong move and totally fracture the Union. That's why he didn't move. He was handled, right? His advisors told him, nah, this ain't the time, buddy. You dig what I'm saying? But what changed his mind? We're going to get into that today, too.
Quote for everything said, once let the black man get upon his person the brass letter U.S., let him get an eagle on his button.
Mind you, we're not even sure if that's Frederick Douglass. Because the same picture they got for W.E.B. Du Bois is the same picture they got for Frederick Douglass. We don't even know if that's him.
And a musket on his shoulder and bullets in his pocket. There is no power on earth that can deny that he has earned the right to citizenship. The war effectively ended in April 1865 when General Robert E. Lee of the Confederate Army surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at the Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. Countless black Americans remained in bondage, even...
Ask yourself, why would they stop and take a picture of these people? They are purportedly the dregs of society. Remember, there's supposed to be some Native Americans enslaved during this time, too. Right? They don't look like slaves to me. Maybe a little country, but not slaves.
After Lee's surrender. And on June 19th of 1865, or what we now know as Juneteenth, General Gordon Granger let 250,000 enslaved people in Texas know through General Order Number 3 that they were free. And some, in states like Kentucky and Delaware, were still waiting even after that. As historian W. Caleb McDaniel has said about the days, weeks, and years following Juneteenth, quote, slavery did not end cleanly or on a single day. It ended through a violent, uneven process. The war was done, but the struggle for Black freedom was in many ways just beginning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
He did a great job, regurgitating what he has always heard. But remember, this is Jehovah Chronicles number 255, Xerxes and Leonidas, right? And Leonidas, and they're tied to American slavery. So we got a gist of what they say was going on at that time. It's always a little cap in the wrap. You dig what I'm saying? But we get the overall gist. But right, let's get into some of this new information. Right? This is the book of S, or the book of spirit, right? Or the book of the things that are created, right? But unseen. This is the unseen world, the S world, right? In contradistinction to the corporeal world, or the physical world, right? This is the unseen, the spiritual world, right? But let's look into the connection between Leonidas and Xerxes, and how do they play into the American slavery, right? How do they play into it, right? This is the only spiritual book. This is oahspe, a spiritual, a primary for the spiritual advancement of humans all across the world and individuals, right? The only spiritual book in the world purported to be from a god or a creator of sorts that even mentions American slavery. But watch the connections that come behind the scene. You dig what I'm talking about? Remember, oahspe is explaining the things, not the things that you already know or that's commonly known, like the video we just showed. It's coming to tell you the things that you don't know, right? So if you're not intelligent and you're not able to, you dig what I'm talking about, turn your beliefs off for a minute. You dig what I'm talking about? This may cause a little cognitive dissonance. But this is the information that you really need to know, right? About the situation. Hey, let's get a if you're getting a little something up out of this, man, hit me with a 1 in the chat, man. Let me know y'all still here. Y'all still cooking. You dig what I'm talking about? Tasting a little good, you're getting a little something up out of it, because now we about to tie it all together with the oahspe, right? They hate on oahspe a lot, but oahspe ain't doing what they doing, huh? It's not trying to explain the darkness, it's trying to remove it, right? It's not trying to replace your religion. Why would the creator deal with tattered old rags? And plus, you said you'd already been the best of that best. Well, then what comes after your religion? Then what? Once you've been the best of the best Israelite, you've been the best of the best Christian, Muslim, Brahmin, Buddhist, then what? You're stagnant for the rest of your life. See, oahspe is that information, right? Look, Jehovah, the creator, overthrows slavery in Guatemala. Guatemala is the ancient name for North America. Guatemala means the 4 tribes. Guatemala. The 4 tribes. The land of the 4 tribes is Guatemala. We'll get into it. Look, the creator overthrows slavery in North America, the ancient Guatemala. S, or the spirit world, said, in ancient times and in the eastern countries over there, The Creator began his revelations. Right? The Western continent, America, or Tama, he left for the finishing of that. Now, when God looked abroad over North America, he saw 4 million people in bondage as slaves. But we've already been debunking, or has debunked, that narrative that these people are somehow Americans, right? When they're already in 1790, 65 years before this time, already free people of color here, not called the blacks or Africans. Where are their descendants today? They are now today called blacks and Africans. African Americans, excuse me. Not a lick of African blood in them. And why would they have to fight to free us? We were already citizens. 1790, free people of color, American Indians. We didn't have to, they weren't giving us citizenship. We're not 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment citizens. That's what you got to remember. So who are these people? That's when you're going to have to do your own research. I suggest a book called The Hidden Cause of the Civil War. Right? Y'all go check that book out. Now, when God looked abroad over North America, he saw 4 million people in bondage as slaves. And he saw that they must be liberated. So God inquired of the chief mathematician in the Holy Council, one named Arak, saying, listen, this is how Leonidas and Xerxes get involved in American slavery, right? God inquired of the chief mathematician in the Holy Council, called the Div, right? Or the Diva. He said his name was one Arak, saying, who of all the kings of earth has had the greatest number of slaves? And Arak said, Xerxes, right? Who dwells in Yopika, in Atmospheria. Now, this was crazy. Now, I'm not saying this is true, right? I'm not saying this is true, but I had never heard of Yopika before, or had I? What if Yopika is today what we call Topeka, or Topeka, Kansas? I don't know. I'm not saying that's true. But this was a different type of name. But when you say it, it sounds like something I heard. Yopeka. Topeka. Yopeka. Topeka. Interesting. Right? God said, send a heavenly ship for him. For who? For Xerxes. And for a billion of his angels. And send also for the Argosian. Argos is the forefather of the Argosians. The Argosians are the Greeks. Argus is the ancient name of the land of Greece. The people from Argus are the Argosians. And specifically, Leonidas of the Lacedaemonians, now called to us the Spartans. And send angels for the Argosian, the Greek, Leonidas, and for 1 billion of his angels. That's 2 billion angels. And when they are brought here, send them when they're brought here to North America, to the heaven of true God, right? They shall descend to the earth, to these barbarians, and liberate their slaves in North America. Barak saluted and departed, giving his instructions to the heavenly marshals, who at once sent ships and messengers as directed. God then said, I will now recall the Ashars, the guardian angels, who hold guard over these mortals. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. My bad. Okay. And then God said, I will now recall the Ashars, or the guardian angels, who hold guard over these mortals. And for a season, they shall dwell in Drugen darkness. Huh? And this was accomplished. And immediately a war ensued between the owners of the slaves and the neighboring states. So we know in America, we're talking about the American Civil War. But they didn't brought up your boy Leonidas, right? They didn't brought your boy Leonidas. When was Leonidas? He was the famous Spartan king. He was born around 540 BC. He was born in Sparta, Greece. Remember the Argosians, the Greeks. His father was Anaxagoras II, and he was best known for his leadership at the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC. That would mean the guy that y'all see in actuality in 300, right, was actually 60 years old when he was fighting against Xerxes. But let's get a look at Xerxes the First. You dig what I'm talking about? We know that they fought at the Battle of Thermopylae, right? But he was born in 519. So at the time, he would have been about 60. Dude would have been about 39. You dig what I'm talking about? Xerxes would have been about 39. He ruled from 519 and died in 465 in Persepolis, Iran, or Persia. He was a Persian king from 486 to 465. He was the son and successor of Darius the First. Right? Okay, but let's go look. And now we know. Now look. He says, God said, I will now recall the Ashars, or the guardian angels, who hold guard over these mortals. What mortals? Right? The ones at the tops of the governments. Right? Like Lincoln. And for a second, they shall dwell in Drugen or demonic darkness. Or for a season, they shall dwell in demonic darkness. And what? This was accomplished, and immediately a war, which war, the American Civil War, ensued between the owners of the slaves and the neighboring states, or the Union and the Confederacy, right? Then came the gods and angels high in grace to witness the play of mortal death and to determine how best to win to liberty and to Jehovah, the inhabitants of this great land. Now let's look over here and look, see the little note 215. Note that unlike the false gods and angels who incite mortals to war, here God simply just withdrew his angels of light and left the mortals to carry on in their own deceit and their own conceit. Huh? And the U.S. Civil War resulted 1861 to 1865. Huh? I ain't making none of this up. This was written a long time before Cosmon was on Earth. Look what he says. God had said, it's an easy matter to win in war, but to make mortals see the triumph of righteousness is not so easy. Therefore, be discreet in appropriating testimony to the Creator. And 2 million men rose up in arms, pushing on in war on every side, coursing the rich soil in mortal blood. And yet, neither side had defined its principles or taken a stand for righteousness' sake. We seen that in the video. The brother said they started the war because of secession, but it came to be a war about freeing the slaves later. Right? Let's see why. And yet neither side had defined its principles or taken a stand for righteousness' sake, but went on in fearful destruction, laying in death tens of thousands and tens of thousands. The Creator said, send your Persian and your Greek, your Argosian angels down to these mortals during the Civil War. And by inspiration, dreams and visions, your angels shall say to them, whoever professes the earth shall battle in vain, but whoever professes righteousness in my name shall win. And millions of angels descended and tried to persuade them, but mortals would not hear. Even the chief general on Liberty's side closed his soul against Jehovah. Yes, himself enforced slavery with his mighty army. Now, they try to say, for all y'all who don't know, or if you do you know who the greatest general of the northern side was? I'll give y'all a couple seconds to put it in the chat. Do 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 do. The greatest chief general on Liberty side or the Union side was Ulysses S. Grant. But how many of y'all knew that Grant was a slave owner? Is that even true? Is oahspe just capping, lying on this man? Nope. And we're going to show you. But they do try to minimize his story. Oh, he just had a few slaves. He just had a few slaves. So he gave his slaves up during slavery, during the war. I think not. Who is the greatest chief general in the Union? It's Ulysses S. Grant. He did own slaves at one point in his life. We don't really actually see him giving them up till 1865. Specifically, right, he owned a man named William Jones for a period before the Civil War. Grant acquired Jones, likely, they don't know, they think, possibly from his father-in-law. No, nigga, you been had him. And then freed him in 1859. So they say. Or did he just walk away? Right? We got the war about to be popping off. How will oahspe be knowing? You dig what I'm saying? This is why this thing is dope. And years went on, and all the people began to perceive that without righteousness, there would be no end to war. Jehovah said, only death. Only death. The Creator said, only death can reach these people or make them behold my hand. Yet you shall send your angel host over all the north regions, and inspired him to call for liberty. Then Xerxes and Leonidas. Listen, this is during the American Civil War. Yes, that Xerxes, that Leonidas. Hold on one second. I'm talking about this guy. Let me share this with y'all. This is a timeline of Persia. All right? Let me blow this up for you. This is a timeline of Persia. We talking about this guy, Xerxes, 486. Look, boom. Xerxes begin his reign. And then look, after him, then it's down here to 465. You dig what I'm talking about? We get Artaxerxes, and then we get Xerxes II. Then we get all these rest of these Xerxes, all the way down to Sogdianus. You dig what I'm talking about? You got multiple Xerxes during this Achaemenid rule, or what they call the rule of the Persians. Artaxerxes the third, Artaxerxes the fourth. You dig what I'm talking about? Back to back to back to back to back to back to back. So you would think when they talking about Xerxes that they talking about one of these dudes, but they actually talking about this guy, the real Xerxes. Remember, in 480 they fight the Battle of Thermopylae, right? 486 Xerxes takes the throne. So 6 years later, he fights Leonidas at the Battle of Thermopylae, right? Then Xerxes and Leonidas went forth with their 2 billion angels to overspread the north and to inspire mortals to a more heavenly stand, to make them see justice and liberty. And for 100 days, listen, and for 100 days, these angels dwelt with mortals, but many mortals were too gross, filthy in their habits, what they ate, right, in themselves or in the earth to comprehend. Then Xerxes came to where? He came to New York, right? And just like God took away the high-raised angels that was protecting the councils and, the presidents and his councils, and they instantly went into war. Well, Xerxes took the high-raised angels from New York, right? And it instantly, watch this. Then Xerxes came to New York, right? Remember, this is during the American Civil War. He came to New York and took away the guardian angels, those of holiness. And he left the city in the hands of the jehovih, or the demonic low spirits. And at once, the city was plunged in hell, or riots and anarchy. And the people were like a crazy people, wild and fearful. Is this true? Is there a time between roughly 1860 to 1865, 1861 to 1865 in New York where the people went crazy? And literally damn near burnt the city down, killed the gang of people, right? Did this happen? Did this happen? Telling you, oahspe is impossible. I'm telling you, I'll be trying to debunk oahspe. I'll be trying. I don't believe this. I just know creator real. I don't believe no book. But every time the book that's supposed to be from the creator tell me some information, and I go back and search and look for it, it's there. How? Why can't Bible do this? Why can't Quran do this? I ain't never seen the 120 lessons do this. I ain't never seen the I Ching do this. Never seen the Mahabharata do this. Ain't no spiritual African spirituality. I don't even know what that is. Right? They don't either. Right? I ain't seen no trans-African spirituality that can do this. Did they damn near riot and burn New York, kill up a gang of niggas, going to hell and riots and anarchy in between 61 and 65 in New York during the Civil War? That's the question. Yes, they did. It's called the New York Draft Riots, also known as the New York City Draft Riots or the July Riots, where a series of violent disturbances in New York City in July 1863, just like they said, sparked by the implementation of the first federal draft during the Civil War. The riots were fueled by widespread discontent with the draft, racial tensions, and economic grievances. And then what? Xerxes came to New York and took away the guardian angels of holiness, and he left the city in the hands of the demonic low druges. And at once the city was plunged in hell and riots and anarchy. And the people were like a crazy people, wild and fearful. Why Bible can't do that? Again, the Creator spoke in the holy council in heaven, saying, "Let my angels go down once more and inspire mortals to rise to the light of my will." Again, the angels overran the land, inspiring mortals day and night to demand freedom for the slaves. And the ambassadress, listen, and the ambassadress, a female, the ambassadress of the Creator, said to her inspiring host of angels, "Number the mortals of north and south as to their majority voice for freedom." Now, when the gods counted the mortals and graded them, they discovered the majority had turned to freedom's side. Creator said to his ambassadress, right? We're going to learn her name, right? You're going to figure out and learn that she is goddess of today. There ain't no God today. It's a female, right? The Creator said to his ambassadress, "Take your own inspiring host and go down to the earth, to Washington, D.C., to the Capitol." To who? To Lincoln, the president. "Hold up this matter to him so that he may understand me, for he is not bound in doctrines, for which reason my angels made him president." Remember, they always say the presidents aren't picked, they're chosen. I guess that plays both out in the heavens and on earth. Why? Why go to Lincoln? Because he's not bound in doctrines. A lot of y'all didn't know Lincoln wasn't a Christian, right? A lot of y'all didn't know that. He's more like a deist. But you dig what I'm saying? Check it out. Why go to Lincoln? Because he ain't bound in doctrines. For which reason my angels made him president. And for this purpose. What purpose? To free the slaves in America, which I have found I have in hand. This is why Lincoln. And it shall come to pass that Lincoln will hear you, and he shall resolve in his own mind to freedom for the slaves. But he will seek for some external sign, fearing he may have mistaken the angels who minister to him. But I will provide a way for this end too. Did y'all know that this really happened? This is documented, and wasn't documented till after oahspe was already written. Nobody knew this. The sister Maynard end up writing this in 1894, 13 years after oahspe, but some 30 years after the experience actually happened. Right? So again, oahspe is a primary for this information. Right? A primary that Lincoln didn't just change his mind. He wasn't about to free no niggas, no slaves. Huh? Why? Because he didn't want to think he was making a wrong move. Right? But even Lincoln himself says he was he spoke to these angels and he had these type of seances and things going on all in the White House. So he just wanted to make sure that he was doing the right thing. Excuse me. And the angels of the Creator went to Lincoln in a vision, like a dream. And they said to him, Lincoln, Lincoln. And he answered and said, who are you? And the angel said, those who come in the Creator's name for freedom's sake. Behold, millions of his angels look down from heaven, and they would come to your armies if you would just only proclaim freedom to the slaves. The Creator's hand is in this matter. Huh? Lincoln awoke and was troubled with his dream. The next night, the angels came again and retold their words, but added to them, the great majority of the country is ripe for this matter. You fear this is only a foolish dream. Behold, we will give you proof tomorrow. Lincoln troubled them before, but remembered that the angel said, we will give you proof tomorrow. The Creator said, I will take this matter. The Creator says, listen, I will make this matter a testimony to this nation so that no man may deny it. And I will show also how my angels work singly and in mighty legions. Huh? He said, I'm going to make this a testimony. Y'all had never heard this till Cosmon just brought this out. But is this written down? Is there testimony outside of oahspe? Right? Yes. And it comes from a person who's not a faithist. Don't believe in the Creator as how it's displayed forth in oahspe. It's a whole different person. Her name is Nettie Maynard. Right? But we're going to get into her role, into how she goes on to influence Lincoln to free the slaves. You ain't never heard this story, but it's out there. If it wasn't true, why would it be out there? I will make this matter a testimony to this nation so that no man may deny it. And I will show also how my angels work singularly and in mighty nations. Now, at that time, living in Washington was a seeress named Nettie Maynard, through whom spirits spoke in her entrancement. And on the day mentioned, the angel spoke through her, saying to one Case, this is General Case, right? Go and fetch the president into the presence of this woman. Right? Now, parties, where we at right here? Hold on. Right here. This is Case, right? 216. Right? 1216. Parties desiring a full report of the mortal side of this history are referred to Colonel Case, 1601 North Street, 15th Street, Philadelphia. Editor, remember the editor refers to the 1882 editor, meaning Colonel Case has long since passed on into the spirit realm, i.e., he died, right? But this is the editor speaking in 1882 about a man who was still living at that time. Now, the spirit went to Case and told them to bring to fetch the president into the presence of this woman. And Case went to Lincoln and told him what was said. And when Lincoln was before the seeress, the angel of the Creator entranced her and said to him, we said we would give you proof tomorrow. Behold, we repeat to you, Creator is in this matter. Unless you proclaim freedom of the slaves, you shall not succeed. Do this, though, and the enemy's armies shall melt away like snow in the sun. This is why, after a certain point, the North start just cutting through the South like butter. How? Why? Remember, this is the unseen cause. Now we know why Lincoln changed his mind. Watch this. Lincoln's eyes were opened, and he immediately went and proclaimed freedom to the whole 4 million slaves. Listen, Xerxes said to Leonidas, Xerxes, the Persian, said to Leonidas the Greek, you great conqueror, you shall conquer me again. Take your billion angels and go with the armies of the North. Right? He told Leonidas to go with the North and inspire them on to victory. Give them such strength and courage as they have not before manifested. This is why they start whooping ass. And as for myself and my host, we shall go to the armies of the South, and we will inspire them to what? To believe they are conquered, and so make them flee before your soldiers. This is why it started becoming so easy for the North to win. Y'all know the narrative. The South just started blowing. The North just started blowing through the South. Why? Lincoln made the declaration. Thus, these great angel warriors allotted themselves to the work. And lo, and behold, the northern armies ran forth over the enemy's countries as if it were only play. Leonidas in the North ran over the South as if they was playing. And the southern armies vanished, disarming themselves and returning to their homes. The slaves were free. Creator said, let this be testimony that this land is the place of the beginning of the Cosmon era. Woo-hoo-hoo. There shall be no caste. Ain't gonna be no black, no white. No social construct forced upon my people. This is why we know, and the understanding that you are Aboriginal these days is so powerful. He told them, we ain't gonna do no caste, but you forced the caste in. Well, there's some consequences and repercussions for every one of your actions. And in every one of them actions, I don't even blame the man. I blame the God and the government. Yep. oahspe, the only book say if you don't pay niggas and get them right with them reparations, you ain't going to be right in this world or the next. As a matter of fact, y'all ain't right in this world or the next. Everybody ever notice why are white people birth rates declining? Y'all started mixing with niggas since the 80s. Heavy. Right? And you still declining? Just saying. Till you do right by me, Hoppo. Right? Reaping and sowing, y'all. You mess it up, you got to clean it up. American government messed this up. American government got to clean it up. This ain't about pointing at some white folks that ain't never owned no goddamn slave in their life, and yet they're still benefiting from it. America is benefiting from it. The government is benefiting from it, and we want our shit. Till you do right by me, Harpo. That's just that. And remember, this book come from the creator, not no God, no Lord, no Savior, no Messiah, none of that. Everything this book say, we go out and point at it. We don't just say it and, we believe it's going to happen. No, nigga. We know 2 + 2 is 4. That's faith. That every time you put a 2 and add 2 to it, it's going to be 4. That comes with knowledge. I ain't got to see it. I ain't got to believe it. If you know it. So if anybody tell you 2 + 2 is 5, 1 + 1 is 3. 3 + 3 is 9. Know that they are capping. It's an objective truth. Mathematics may be subjective, but what it proves is objective. Behold, I went to the Israelites, right? In that day, right? He talking about going way back in the wind. And he said, keep yourselves as a separate people, for I had a work for them, which was to travel where? Westward. Uh-oh. Niggas always talking about the Israelites, ain't they? For I had a work for them, which was to travel westward and establish me. And mind you, these Israelites ain't Africans. So if you mix with one, if you mix a nigga with a nigga, he is the Aboriginal copper-colored man of Persian. He's the original Persian. That's why the Achaemenids, Darius, Xerxes, Cambyses, Artaxerxes, all these people were heavily melanated with long, black, coarse nigga. Because see, you didn't know, just like the people in America, they were descent of the Oahspe, the copper-colored races. What you mean? Yeah, oahspe break down what they is, who they is, what they look like, how they act, where they went. So you ain't no confusion. What he tell them? Had to work for them, right? For these niggas of the East to establish the creator, the all one. And they came westward and fulfilled my commandments, for which I have blessed them. What year did they go to the West Coast en masse and complete this message? How about 1849? Anybody ever heard of a 49er? Anyways, and I went to China and I said, let the followers of Chinese keep themselves as an exclusive people, for I have worked for them, which was to establish me, the all one, and to demonstrate the most numerous people in the world united as one people, peacefully. And they have accomplished their work, and I blessed them. And I went to Vindu, or ancient India. Vindu. This is where you get the word Hindu and Hindustan, right? Because it was Vindu first, right? And I went to India and I established a mighty people with a multiplicity of gods and languages, for I had a work for them to do, which was to preserve my revelations of some of the visions of my heavens above, and to prove in after time things which I have revealed to the ancients. They have accomplished their work also, and I have blessed them. Listen, but in this era, starting in 1848, he talking about this time from 1848 to 4848, right? In this era, the Cosmon era, I do not come to an exclusive people. Uh-oh. All that chosen doctrine. Huh? Oh, I'm better than you, and I got the real word and the real Yeshua. I got the real Jesus on my side. Yes, I do. Yes. No. Because I'm not coming to it. He's not coming to an exclusive people, but to the combination of all peoples commingled together as one people. Hence, I have called this the Cosmon era of balance. Huh? From this time forward, from 1848, my chosen, huh? You want to be down with the Creator? Well, my chosen shall be of the amalgamated races who choose me. Huh? Yeah. You want to be African? You want to be Indian? You want to be European, or Slav, or it don't matter. Huh? You want to be chosen. Did you choose the Creator? Huh? Because in time, the race is going to amalgamate. They're already doing it. Nothing you can do to stop it. Nothing can happen or stop the hand of the Creator. The chosen shall be those who choose me. Huh? So if you want to be chosen, choose Creator, not God, not Lord, not Savior, not Messiah. Huh? A man turns into every one of those things. And we know it's what our Islamic brothers call shirk, right? Or folly, to praise a man in any capacity, even Jeebus. Nigga said, don't, Jeebus told you, don't praise me, nigga. Praise the nigga who sent me. Huh? They didn't twist it around the real Yeshua story. Jesus is a literary invention. He didn't exist. But 146 years before the time of the invented Jesus character's birth, there was a real man named Yeshua born on the planet. Had a mama and daddy, brothers, sisters. Right, that guy. From his story, they've amalgamated the life of different Aisu or Yeshuas, huh? And created the life of Jesus, the Aisu of Christianity. This is why when you look back into the very first written KJVs in English, right? They don't call Jesus Jesus. They call them Iesus, right? Proving that it's an invented story, right? Because they couldn't come with the name of the physical representation of Christ on the earth, who is the God of the Christians, right? So Constantine had a great idea. He said, well, all the prophets were Aisu, so why not just call him Aisu? It was like, yeah, that's dope. Around the 1500s, 1600s, J starts to replace the I, and Iesus becomes Jesus. Huh? From this time forward, my chosen shall be of the amalgamated races, those who willing to rock with each other. You ain't even gotta, he's not saying that white people gotta agree with black people, and then I'm only gonna choose the people who have and have. No. Amalgamated means those who in with each other. You can be your own thing, right? But overall, you are faithist. He talking about the people that ain't looking at color and all that stuff. They talking about content and character, creed, spiritual rate. How good you are. Those people who amalgamate, right? And yes, some of them may be of different skin hues. But remember, the point is to produce an offspring, more viable, or with more vigor, or a higher spiritual rate than its parents. That's the whole point. From this time forward, my chosen shall be of the amalgamated races who choose me. You want to be the chosen? Choose creator. Ask yourself, have you chosen the creator, or did you choose a God? And then try to rationalize only the people who are chosen are those who choose the creator. And ask yourself, are you really the chosen? Be real, you're only fooling yourself. Right? God and the creator ain't the same thing. So let that sink in a second. From this time forward, my chosen shall be of the amalgamated races who choose me, and these shall become the best, most perfect of all peoples on earth, and they shall not consider race or color, but health and nobleness as to the most important part of a mortal, and as to spirit, peace, love, wisdom, and good works, and one great spirit only. We praise the great spirit in America. Leonidas and Xerxes said, it will be revealed before long that we have been here with our angel hosts. As a testimony of this, let us allot numbers of our angels to remain a season with mortals, and they shall inspire them to athletic sports peculiar to the who? We're going to inspire these niggas to sports peculiar to the Greeks and the Persians, right? 2:18. Let's go look at that. What games are they talking about? What athletic sports? This would be, among other things, the Olympic Games. So proof that Leonidas and Xerxes had their hand in freedom of the American slaves is that at the end of it, they founded the Olympic Games, right? They started inspiring people, right, to athletic sports peculiar to the Greeks and the Persians. What are those? Let's take a look real quick. All right, hold on. Let me show you all this. Now, it's AI. We just asked AI, which Olympic sports are thought to be Persian in their inceptions. Watch this. This should not be here. Ain't no way there should be Persian sports dominated and brought about by Americans. They use other people around the world also, but to inspire to get it done, right? But this comes out of America. But why use Greece and Persians as the root of the athletic games? Why? Because Xerxes and Leonidas had a hand in the North and the South freeing the 4 million American slaves. Which sports? While the ancient Olympic sports originated in Greece, several sports are now part of the modern Olympic Games are thought to have their roots in ancient Persia. How in America? What about wrestling? What about polo? What about archery? What about equestrian events? But what about shouldn't be no Greek in there, but we know it started in Greece. But why would the Greek sports be in America? Because Leonidas had his hand in freeing American slaves. The modern Olympic Games are directly inspired by ancient Olympic Games, which began in Greece. Here are some Olympic sports thought to be Greek in their exception: running, the foot races, the stave, the 200 meter, the 400 meter, right? The 1500 meter race, the hydropolis, where you wear a lot of different stuff and you do a run, right? Wrestling, boxing, pancration. Pancration is kind of like MMA. You dig what I'm talking about? So then they had the pentathlon, right? This stuff is still done today. Long jump, discus throw, javelin throw, wrestling with the equestrian events, chariot racing, horse racing. All that stuff still goes on in the Olympics today. But now we know why. Why? Because Leonidas said to Xerxes, 1865, it will be revealed before long, via oahspe, right? Via oahspe, that we have been here with our angel host as a testimony to prove that we've been here. Let us allot a number of our angels to remain a season with mortals, right? So they left some of their people here, right, to do what? And they shall inspire them to athletic sports peculiar to the Greeks, peculiar to the Persians. To this Xerxes consented, and they asked for 600,000 angel volunteers, and they received them and officered them and distributed them in such a way that their inspiration would develop mortals in health, strength, endurance, and by means of athletic games. And it came to pass that the angels of heaven established athletic games among this people far and near, talking about in the Americas, right? We're going to see 219. And the Creator said, even in this, the founding of the Olympic Games, man shall behold the cause of causes, which lies behind all things done on earth. That is the Creator himself, right? That is the cause of causes, right? 219 says sports have blossomed in the United States and elsewhere since the late 1800s and continue to this day, and with numerous varieties of athletic sports and more invented every generation. And man searched as to the cause of these things, right? And tried to persuade himself of any cause but the true one. And Creator said, I will show these people, that the chief causes of great affairs among mortals come from my angels of my heavens. I come in Cosmon to free not only the corporeal man, the physical man, but I come to free the spiritual man. I raised my hand against the God being founded in their constitution. Ain't no God in their constitution. It's not founded. Neither will I have them fight battles for me, the Creator. So if your God or any of your religions fought for any reason, that proves you've been duped and you're not serving the Creator. Because the Creator said, ain't nobody fighting no battle for me. Who can? This is why he didn't have Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Brahmanism, founded in America by the sword, like in the East. None of that go on here, right? As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. You can practice whatever you want. I come in Cosmon to free not only the corporeal man, but the spiritual man. I raise my hand against the God being founded in their constitution, talking about America. Neither will I have them fight battles for me. The past is the past. Angels and mortals shall be free. We're going to stop right there. You dig what I'm talking about? And that is the way you prove it to anybody trying to deny what oahspe is saying. It shows you in real time why things are, and the expression of them in it proves what it is. Right? Who would have thought in a million years Leonidas and Xerxes of 300 fame had something to do with freeing slaves in America? I would have never thought that in a million years. I thought it was an interesting story. You dig what I'm saying? And with that, you dig what I'm talking about? Let me know if y'all got something up out of it, man. Y'all want to jump on for a minute? I dropped the link in the chat. Anybody want to come up, kick it, share anything? You dig what I'm talking about? Whatever, you know. We'll just keep going. You dig what I'm saying? We'll just keep going, you know. But if not, you dig what I'm saying? We'll just leave it right there. It is a lot to digest. You dig what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in the house. Intuitive, go. Go. Man. Honor and humility up in this thing. Loyal up in this thing. Cosmon era is wild. You like that? You like that? Yeah. See, people be thinking my name Cosmon. They think when I say Cosmon, I'm talking about me. No, Cosmon is the name of the era we're in. Let me show you. Let me show you something real quick. Let me pull something up. Let me knock something down. Pull something up. I know I got whatchamacallit in here somewhere. Here go one. All right, let me show this. Let me share this with y'all. Y'all see that? That's the timetables of prophecy, right? Once you breaking down this science in oahspe, man, it teach you how to tell time. Remember, God of the Bible said, "I gave you the moon, sun, and the moon to tell time, seasons, weeks, and days, and all that." Well, oahspe does a one step better than what the gods does. It actually explains how to use the moon, the sun, to tell time. Right? So we all way back here on the BK line timeline, 97,000. You dig what I'm talking about? 95,000 BC to 89,000 BC right here. When you walk all this stuff down, right here, we got man created twice in the 6,000 years. This is your hominid explanation. People don't know how it happens. And then we got man. Modern thinking, upright, smart people, just like me and you, of all various sizes and colors, in the very first arc cycle called Wang. Right? It's a 3,000 year span of time, right? Right here. First arc cycle, 3,000 years from 71 to 68,000 BC, right? It's called Wang. Man, look, man was created over here. Bible, they call them Cain and Abel, right? Adam and all that. Well, that's 72,000 years ago, right? Right here in the first arc cycle, see? But today, we all the way down here in the 25th arc cycle, which is also a 3,000 year span of time. It started in 1848 and is going to end 3,000 years later in 4048, right? Its first year was 1848. So at that point, you start counting upwards. In the time we are in right now. This is the time we're in, the 25th arc cycle, right? Called what? Cosmon. So my name is Cal. Cosmon means balance, and it also means now. So my name really means the Calvin of now, not the Calvin of then, who would have been my father. You dig what I'm talking about? But the Calvin of now. Cosmon. Him. You dig what I'm talking about? Of now. Himothy. the the Himalation. You dig what I'm talking about? But look, we're in the 25th arc cycle. We don't have a god. We have a goddess named Shesivi Antithotis, the Antithoter. This is a title. It's not really her name. Her name is Shesivi. She is an Antithotis. It's a person who, an antidote is a person who goes by the light of the creator. And it's an antidote basically is the modus operandi of an angel. Right? If God is telling you, well, these niggas, the creator is telling you these niggas are stupid, raise them up. The antidote, right, is to raise them up. A male who does it is an antidoter, right? The modus operandi, the antidote, is how you get it done. A male who does it is an antidoter. Female who does it who does it is an antidotis, right? It's a level of God, right? Let me see. And if you got anything about this, man, hit me with some fire emojis in the chat, man. I guess we're gonna get up out of here, man. We'll rock a little something as we get up out of here. You dig what I'm saying? Let me see what we got on deck. Man, shout out to the boy Noble, man. The boy Noble, man. Supposedly he shot himself. You dig what I'm talking about? And took his own life, man. Weird. But shout out to Noble of the Outlaws. You dig what I'm talking about? Condolences to you and your family, bro. You dig what I'm talking about? That's a tough one. You dig what I'm saying? It's a tough one right there. You dig? But let's get up out of here with some of this Sila Shilly. Let's get some of this Sila Shilly. You dig what I'm talking about? Because they not like us, man. We murk Team Kimmy. Yeah, you dig what I'm talking about? I'm sorry about the smell. We thought we buried them deeper.
Creator gang is undefeated. Creator gang is undefeated. Know that. Know that. They not like us. Separate the real from the fake is a must. We stand on creator and no God we trust. Team Kemet got crushed into powder and dust. Woo! Kemet looking bad now. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many men down? Look at us all running, ducking, trying to skip town. Now power one it in. You Hebrew, what you Kemet now? Siding with the people that enslaved your own people now? Chop you up into pieces and throw you in the river now. Bet you right beside you, get ate by Kemetic crocodile. Look, we got them running, covering square miles. Scared to death, what's left? Only to take the crown. Get smashed down on your own stomping ground. We took over like the Hicks on your turf doing a disco. 2-stepping, no half-stepping with the info. You wouldn't even know the book of the dead, bro, if it wasn't for the translation done by my sparrow. Your time's narrow, semi-missiles blow out your arch arrows. Arches down, so goes the pharaoh. I saw him reading the glyphs like he an expert. But where he learned that from? This about to hurt. First translation came from Samuel Birch. European Egyptology gave you it first. You couldn't translate a bird to a word without looking up them European definition verbs. Y'all niggas acting like y'all blackity black. Frontin' to the people, man, y'all niggas actually whack. Your pathetic comedic creation meant it's a trap. The blind leading the blind with no actual facts. Shabario Saze, you softer than Sade. Come to find out he followed Yahweh. That was your execution. You Rosicrucian. Western thought you using. You are quite confusing. Don't know what you doing. How my eye got you moving. Right now you are losing. At your wake I'm viewing. R.I.P. communion. Mummy wrapped in ruin. oahspe is ruling. Science has been proven. All motion moving. You live in an illusion. Who you think you fooling? Think you need some schooling. It's like Reggie out here living in a ghost town. Walking around like I see dead people around. I don't believe in spirits, but I believe them now. Stuttering Stanley, you can have a seat now.
Stuttering Stanley, stuttering Stanley, stuttering Stanley, stuttering Stanley. Shut up, you freak.
Freaky ass Kemet, they got 69 gods. Freaky ass Kemet, they got 69 gods. Freaky ass Kemet, they got 69 gods. 69 gods, 69 gods. Freaky ass Kemet, they got 69 gods. Freaky ass Kemet, they got 69 gods. Freaky ass Kemet, they got 69 gods. 69 gods, 69 gods. Creator gang is undefeated. Create a gang is undefeated, and it's gonna remain that way. And it's gonna remain that way.
Yeah.
Jason Nero put the record on.
Create a gang coming, create a gang coming. Turning up the light and watch some boys start running. Let me tell you something, we ain't out here doing nothing. I can tell you scared, boy, niggas stop fronting. It was all in the plan, comprehension, understand. Breaking boys off like created did the plan. Cooler than the band, who you fooling, man? We be tearing shit up like we're taping some bands. Conscious community, yeah, we in demand. They hunger for the truth, debate or the booth. Sourcing up with the proof, AU on the tooth. Catch me in the candy painted octagon coupe. Step in my boots while I'm knocking mines loose. You be the cobra, I be the mongoose. Plant base in my suit, meditate on my fruit. Red Star training, who let the gods loose?
Shout out to Cosmon Cow. Cosmon Cow, boy, I'm going to tell you something. He is a problem. He is a problem when it comes to these Hebrew Israelites.
FOPE.
Y'all better stop playing. He is a problem. Cosmon Cow is a problem. Create a gang gang.
Yeah, the gang coming, create a gang coming. Turning up the light and watch some boys start running. Let me tell you something, we ain't out here doing nothing. I can tell you scared, boy, niggas stop fronting. It was all in the plan.
Create a gang is crazy. Boy, y'all better pay attention.
We fight as a single, impenetrable unit. That is the source of our strength.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, just that Japheth, that Chow Mein, that Papabull, that Tao Mein, since sunset in the arc of Wayne, my brain moving like Tao Sang. So ass above, it's so below, that up and that down thing. This flow is atmospheric, I call that a ground game. See, water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning. So how your God make a sun without vortexing current? See the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people. oahspe flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the equal. And when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing Puerto. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sela. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door stop. And the 4 million I make, I'm giving the Dr. Umar. Oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahuin is now a ennui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God's, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me? Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oahspe flow is so potent, set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you making salat. Well, I'm a Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faithful. So yeah. Put that super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh